For more than 5 decades, I have dedicated myself to taking care of people. During this period, I crossed borders, attended American hospitals, Brazilian clinics, rural communities in Asia, and urban centers in Europe. One thing, however, remained absolutely constant. The vast majority of patients who come to me carry complaints that could be alleviated and often resolved by something that nature itself has already given us. Something that most likely you have right now in your kitchen. That's why I'm not going to beat around the bush. You deserve a straight answer. There is a simple preparation made with common ingredients which, taken correctly at the correct time, only once a day, is capable of completely reorganizing the functioning of your digestive system. This drink acts against reflux, reduces the volume of the belly, cuts excess flatulence, and even teaches your intestine to return to the rhythm that should be normal. I'm going to reveal what this recipe is, how to prepare it, and why it really works. But first, you need to see what happens inside. Without this understanding, any medicine or tea becomes just another hope that is soon frustrated. Let's start with the reflux. Who has never felt that fire rising through their chest, their mouth bitter, the feeling that the food decided to return from where it shouldn't? Most, when they experience this, run to the pharmacy for an antacid, or the doctor prescribes a proton pump inhibitor. The discomfort disappears for a few hours, but soon returns. And why is that? Because you fought the alarm, not the fire. Reflux, in the overwhelming majority of cases, is not a consequence of too much acid. This is one of the biggest mistakes that modern medicine still repeats. Here's what happens. The lower esophageal sphincter, a valve that separates the esophagus from the stomach, is loose or malfunctions. When this valve does not close tightly, the contents of the stomach rise. It doesn't matter if the acid is high, low, or medium. If the valve fails, the liquid rises. The antacid only reduces the acidity of this liquid, so the burning decreases, but the liquid continues to rise. And the worst, by reducing stomach acid, you compromise all digestion. Gastric acid is not your enemy. It is the one that breaks down proteins, activates digestive enzymes, and kills the bacteria that came along with the food. Without enough acid, the system goes astray, and then other symptoms appear. The belly is bloated after any meal, the gas does not stop, the food seems stuck, frequent burps, the intestine sometimes traps, sometimes loosens. All of this is tied together. It is a unique system. When one piece fails, the others follow the same fate. Now I need to talk about what goes on in the intestine, because bloating and gas have a very specific origin. When the stomach does not digest properly, either due to lack of acid or lack of enzymes, food arrives at the small intestine, mistreated, semi-enteros. The bacteria that live there, which are necessary and beneficial when in balance, then begin to ferment this poorly processed food left over. Fermentation generates gas, and a lot of gas. That gas that hurts, that presses on the abdominal wall, that makes your belly as hard as a board, that makes you feel ashamed at social gatherings. That gas is not normal. It's an unmistakable sign that the digestive process is wrong. There is also another factor that makes everything worse: dysbiosis. This difficult name just means imbalance of the intestinal flora. When bad bacteria overwhelm the gut loses its ability to self-regulate. The intestinal wall becomes more permeable. Toxins escape into the bloodstream, and the body's defense system goes on permanent alert, generating inflammation. This inflammation manifests itself in the most varied ways. It can be constant tiredness, that mental fog that doesn't let you think straight, joint pain, aging or pimpled skin, anxiety with no apparent cause. All of this can originate in the intestine. More than 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates already said that all disease begins in the intestine, and today's science is proving him right. So what to do? You need something that acts on several fronts at once, something that helps the stomach work better, reduces fermentation in the intestine, strengthens the intestinal flora, decreases inflammation, and improves intestinal motility. That is, the movements that push food forward, and that you do all this in a natural way, without side effects, without creating dependence. This is where what I want to present to you comes in. A drink that, when you understand how it acts in the body, makes perfect sense. It's not magic. It's biochemistry. It's physiology. It's nature working in your favor. I'm talking about a ginger juice with lemon and honey diluted in warm water, 1 glass a day. Taken in the morning on an empty stomach, about 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast. This combination, prepared in the right way, has a profound effect on the entire digestive system. And I'm going to break down each component so that you understand why this works. Let's start with ginger. This root is one of the most studied medicinal plants in human history. It contains bioactive substances called gingerols and shogols, which have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and prokinetic properties. Prokinetic means that it stimulates the movement of the gastrointestinal tract. Ginger speeds up gastric emptying. That is, it helps the stomach process and send food to the intestine faster. When the stomach empties faster, the pressure on the esophageal sphincter decreases. With less pressure, backflow reduces. Not because the acid has been neutralized, but because the contents pass faster and the valve is less overloaded. In addition, ginger has a carminative effect. It helps eliminate gas from the digestive tract. It relaxes the smooth muscles of the intestine, which facilitates the exit of gases and relieves swelling. And it even has antibacterial properties that help balance the intestinal flora, reducing the overgrowth of bacteria that cause fermentation. There's a study published in the European Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology that showed that ginger accelerated gastric emptying in people with functional dyspepsia. That syndrome of bloating, gas, and digestive discomfort without an identified organic cause. The results were expressive. And that's just one of hundreds of scientific papers documenting ginger's effects on the digestive system. Now the lemon. Outside the body, lemon is acidic, but inside the body, after being metabolized, it produces alkaline waste. This is not a contradiction, it is basic biochemistry. What matters is not the pH of the raw food, but the pH of the waste that remains after digestion. Lemon stimulates the production of bile by the liver. Bile is essential for digesting fats. It also stimulates gastric juices, improving protein digestion, and it's rich in vitamin C, a powerful antioxidant that fights inflammation in the digestive tract. But there is a specific property of lemon that few people know about. It stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the great commander of the digestive system. It regulates the secretion of acid in the stomach, bowel movements, the production of digestive enzymes. When the vagus nerve is well stimulated, the digestive system works in harmony, and fresh lemon juice contains compounds that contribute to this vagal stimulation. And honey. Not just any honey, but pure honey, preferably from reliable and organic sources if possible. Honey has prebiotic properties. It feeds the beneficial bacteria in the gut. It contains oligosaccharides that arrive intact in the large intestine and serve as food for the healthy microbiome. And a healthy microbiome is the foundation of everything. It produces vitamins, regulates the immune system, controls inflammation, and even influences mood and the ability to think. Honey also has a calming effect on the mucosa of the esophagus and stomach. It forms a protective film that reduces irritation caused by reflux. Its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties are well documented, and it even adds a sweet kick that makes the drink enjoyable to drink every day. Because the best medicine in the world is useless if the person cannot ingest it regularly. And the warm water. Temperature matters. Cold water irritates the digestive tract, especially in the morning when the body is still waking up. Warm water has a relaxing effect on the muscles of the gastrointestinal tract. It stimulates peristalsis, those undulatory movements that the intestine makes to push the contents. And it hydrates the digestive system gently, setting the stage for the day. So how to prepare? Grab a glass of water. Heat until lukewarm. Not boiling, just lukewarm. Grate or squeeze approximately 1 to 2 inches of fresh ginger. If you don't have fresh, a teaspoon of ground ginger will also work, but fresh is superior. Squeeze the juice of half a lemon. Add a teaspoon of pure honey. Mix well and drink on an empty stomach, 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast. Simple as that. A glass every day. And consistency is what makes all the difference. It's not a 2-day thing. The body needs time to adjust, to repair itself, to recalibrate itself. But most people start to feel a difference within 1 to 2 weeks. reduce gas, less bloating, less reflux. And over time, the effects deepen. But I need to tell you something very important. This drink is powerful, but it doesn't work miracles on its own. It needs to be inserted in a context of care. And this context involves some habits that greatly enhance the results. The first habit is to chew well. It seems obvious, but it is the most neglected thing that exists. Digestion begins in the mouth. Saliva contains enzymes, especially salivary amylase, which already begins to break down carbohydrates. When you chew slowly, you prepare food much more efficiently before it even reaches your stomach. Studies show that people who chew more have less reflux, less gas, and better nutrient absorption. Chewing well is the pre-processing of the digestive system, and most of us swallow our food almost whole. The second habit is not to drink liquids during meals. I know this goes against the custom of many people, but when you drink while eating, you dilute the gastric juices, reducing the efficiency of digestion. You also increase the volume inside the stomach, which increases the pressure on the sphincter and favors reflux. The recommendation is to drink water up to 30 minutes before meals and then wait at least 45 minutes after eating to drink again. It seems difficult at first, but you adapt quickly and the improvement in digestion is noticeable. The third habit is not to lie down after eating. Gravity is your ally. When you stand or sit after your meal, gravity helps your stomach retain its contents. When you lie down, gravity loses strength and reflux happens more easily. Wait at least 2 hours after your last meal before bedtime. And if you suffer from nocturnal reflux, slightly elevate the head of the bed. An elevation of 6 inches already makes a huge difference. The fourth habit is to reduce stress. I know this is easier said than done, but I have to say it because the impact of stress on the digestive system is devastating. The gut-brain axis is real. When you're under chronic stress, the sympathetic nervous system takes over. In sympathetic mode, digestion is suppressed. Gastric acid production decreases or becomes dysregulated. Bowel movement becomes irregular. Intestinal permeability increases. Stress literally messes up your gut. Practices such as meditation, deep breathing, walking outdoors, anything that activates the parasympathetic nervous system will contribute to digestive health. The fifth habit is to pay attention to what you eat. It doesn't have to be a crash diet, but there are foods that have been proven to trigger reflux and bloating. Very fatty and fried foods, ultra-processed foods, soft drinks, excessive alcohol, excessive coffee, especially on an empty stomach, chocolate, mint, which paradoxically relaxes the esophageal sphincter and worsens reflux, excessive citrus fruits before bedtime. These are the main ones. You don't have to eliminate everything at once, but gradually reducing it makes a real difference. Now, I want to talk about something that few people consider when they think of digestive health, the connection between the liver and digestion. The liver is the silent conductor of the whole process. It produces bile, which is essential for digesting fats and for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K. When the liver is overloaded, bile production is compromised, and this generates chain consequences. Undigested fats reach the intestine and are fermented by bacteria, generating even more gas. Nutrient absorption drops, inflammation increases. The ginger that is in our daily drink also has hepatoprotective effects. It helps reduce inflammation in the liver, stimulates bile production, and improves bile flow. So when you have that glass in the morning, you're not just taking care of your stomach and intestines, you're taking care of the liver too. All connected. And let me talk about the gut microbiota a little bit more, because that's key. We have more bacteria in the gut than cells in the entire body. About 40 trillion microorganisms live inside us, and they do extraordinary things. They produce neurotransmitters, including serotonin. Approximately 90% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut. They produce B vitamins and vitamin K. They regulate the immune system. They control systemic inflammation. They influence body weight. They influence mood and behavior. When this microbiota is unbalanced, the consequences go far beyond the bloated belly and gases. You may have decreased immunity, depressed mood, difficulty concentrating, chronic fatigue, skin problems, weight gain. It's a system that governs a lot of things in your body. And what unbalances the microbiota? Antibiotics, of course. but also a diet low in fiber, excess sugar, alcohol, chronic stress, poor sleep, sedentary lifestyle. These are the great villains of the modern microbiome. And what balances? Prebiotic fibers, which feed the good bacteria. Probiotics, which are the good bacteria themselves, in the form of fermented foods such as natural yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kombucha. Reduction of sugar and ultra-processed foods. And precisely the compounds that are in our drink, especially honey with its prebiotic properties and ginger with its selective antibacterial properties, which reduce bad bacteria without destroying good ones. I want to tell you something about my trajectory. I spent years in the United States studying, researching, attending. One of the things that struck me the most was realizing how modern Western medicine has moved away from nature. He started to treat symptoms with synthetic drugs that often create new problems by solving the previous one. I'm not against conventional medicine, far from it, but I deeply believe that nature offers powerful tools that have been forgotten or ignored in the name of pharmaceutical solutions. Ginger has been used for more than 5,000 years in Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. Lemon is part of healing rituals in several ancient cultures. Honey is one of the first documented medicines in human history. It's no coincidence. It is wisdom accumulated over generations, now confirmed by modern science. When I prescribe something like this to my patients, I'm not making anything up. I'm rescuing knowledge. I am combining what tradition teaches with what scientific research confirms. And the results speak for themselves. People who follow this simple protocol of 1 cup a day, combined with the habits I mentioned, report significant improvements in weeks, not months. Reflux reduces, the belly swells, gas decreases, the intestine regulates itself. Sleep improves because poor digestion disrupts sleep in ways that most people don't realize. The mood increases because when the intestine absorbs nutrients better, the body has more energy. And most importantly, you don't have to spend a fortune. You don't need expensive supplements. It does not need procedures. You need ginger, lemon, honey, and warm water, things that cost a few rees. This is accessible medicine, democratic medicine, medicine that anyone can apply today. Now, a word of caution. There are situations when you should consult a doctor before changing eating habits. If you have active gastric ulcer, ginger can irritate the mucosa excessively. If you have oxalate kidney stones, lemon should be used sparingly. If you are diabetic, honey needs to be used carefully and in a controlled amount. If you're taking blood thinners, ginger in large quantities can enhance the effect. These are situations in which individualized medical guidance is essential. I always say self-medication has limits. Use knowledge to take better care of yourself, but do not replace medical follow-up when it is necessary. For most healthy people who suffer from functional reflux, bloating, and gas without diagnosed organic disease, this beverage is safe, effective, and transformative. But know your body. Listen to their signals, and one last reflection before closing. There is a human tendency to seek the most complex solution to problems, the most expensive pill, the most advanced treatment, the most sophisticated procedure, as if complexity validates efficacy. But health often responds better to simplicity, consistency, to small habits practiced every day, without glamour, without spectacle. 1 glass a day, 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast. Fresh ginger, freshly squeezed lemon, pure honey, warm water. Nothing more. This is the type of care that transforms health from the inside out. Not in one day, but day after day, week after week. The body responds. Inflammation decreases, the microbiome balances, the stomach works better, the gut flows more harmoniously, and you start to feel what it's like to have a body function the way it was designed to work. I have more than 50 years of medicine behind me. I've seen fashions go by, trends come and go. But what never changes is the intelligence of the human body when you give it what it needs. Water, nutrition, movement, sleep, less stress, and the right compounds at the right time. The body does the rest. You've come this far because you're looking for a real solution, not an